I'm sitting here in the 2025 GR Corolla, and it gets a little bit quicker for 2025. In this video, we're going to talk about the updates and changes. We're going to talk about the 8-speed automatic transmission. We're going to look at the suspension changes. There's some cooling changes as well. We're going to talk with the chief engineer, and then we're going to take it out on the track. Quick refresher, this is an all-wheel drive platform. It has a 1.6-liter 3-cylinder engine making 300 horsepower at 6,500 RPM. And one of the big changes from last year is it now makes 295 pound-feet of torque. That is up 22. So this is the launch of the automatic transmission. This is an 8-speed Gazoo Racing. They call it the direct automatic transmission, and it is unique to the GR Corolla. And the GR Corolla is built in the Motomachi plant along with the GR Yaris, and this is where the LFA was built too. Now, some people say that this automatic transmission can read your mind. They say it can sense your intentions before the next corner and select the appropriate gear at the appropriate time, and it will anticipate the next gear that you need. So in order to do that, it is taking input from different sensors around the car. So all this is designed to make a novice driver a little bit faster on a track. It allows you to focus on steering, your line, braking, all the basics without having to worry about downshifting, upshifting, and sort of getting everything right. And of course, this is just going to be a little bit easier to drive around in the city too. And what I think is really impressive is that this whole automatic transmission package adds only about 45 pounds. Toyota says this should be able to shift in 300 milliseconds, which is faster than some DCTs. There's no getting away from the fact that this has still got economy car roots. This is still a pretty basic car. This is a Corolla with very nice, very comfortable supportive seats. It is very, very cramped in the rear. My head is pretty close to the ceiling. I've got basically no knee room at all. And you've got a little bit less room than the normal Corolla because you've got this raised portion here. Next, we're going to talk with the chief engineer, and then we're going to take it out on the track. Quick disclosure, Toyota did fly me out to Charlotte, North Carolina, put me up at a nice hotel with some other journalists. With that, let's get into it. So I'm here with the chief engineer of GR Corolla, Naoyuki Sakamoto. So there's been a lot of changes for this mid-cycle refresh, more than I see in a lot of cars. First off, we've got this new automatic transmission. How long was the development cycle behind this?
Actually, so that transmission was development at first for the GR Yaris. So after releasing GR Yaris, we implemented that transmission to the Japan Rally Championship GR Yaris car and also Super Taikyu series. Then Toyota's chairman, Akio Toyoda, aka Morizo, himself driving the car, then developed the transmission to be the kind of sporty transmission.
Is it different than the Yaris, or is it very similar and you just adapted it for the
Basically, the transmission itself is the same, but tuned for the fitting to the GR Corolla. But based on the kind of modification point from the Toyota's 880, so at first, to fit to the sports model, we changed the gear ratio, more close gear ratio. Then, of course, we need to make the shift speed faster for the competitive, to be competitive. So Morizo requested us a lot about that. So we changed the electronic solenoid, more responsive, and also friction material for shift changing, more durable. That 3 points is the main modification point from the other 880.
In your press materials, you have a chart where you're showing the shifting speed as about 300 milliseconds and comparable to DCTs. So why choose an automatic over a DCT?
So we have a long history working on the automatic transmission, which has a torque converter. So we want to make it more sporty. Maybe there is not difference between DCT and AT, just releasing clutch, grabbing clutch. So we are challenged, kind of compete with the DCT to make it better transmission. So we know both are pros and cons, but we choose automatic transmission. Also, we are improving the shift schedule. Even you are driving on the D range mode, not using a paddle, the shift timing is always right timing for the sports driving. So when we joined the Super Taikyu series driven by Master Driver Morizo, so he drove the car not using a paddle, just a D range mode. He requested us to be better than professional drivers' shift operation. That's the one big point for this GRDAT.
When you're on track, when I'm driving around a corner and I'm coming up to the corner entry, how does the car know that getting up to a corner and I want a downshift? How does it know that?
The issue is many signals, but basically deceleration G, vehicle speed, and driver's input like a brake pedal or accel pedal or something like that.
If I'm, let's say, just light braking versus more pedal pressure, will higher pedal pressures tell the car a downshift?
Yes, yes. So in case of the higher brake pressure detected, driver want to decelerate quickly. Then after that, maybe need to have a strong acceleration. So downshift point is more kind of earlier.
When you're in the city versus just on track, is the shift speed different? Does it shift softer in the city, or is it kind of the same?
Same, but different in between the normal mode and the sport mode. Sport mode is more quicker. And also, if you activate the launch mode, upshift is much quicker.
There are 3 different drive modes now, and you had 3 drive modes before, but you've changed them. Now you have normal mode, which is 60-40 split, and you've got gravel, which is 50-50. That used to be like track mode before, but now track mode is dynamic from 60-40 to 70-30. So when I'm driving on track, what are the inputs? How does the car decide to shift power from front to back?
Basically, one of the weak points of the previous track mode, 50-50 fixed, is kind of exiting corner. Sometimes you may feel some understeer feeling, so we make it more adjustable as you explained. So to change the torque distribution, we are monitoring the G, lateral G combined with longitudinal G, and also vehicle speed or other kind of signal monitoring. Then we determine how much torque will be transferred to the rear to avoid any understeer.
Right, so this will help reduce understeer because I'm applying more power to the rear than the front. Let's talk about these suspension changes here. So can you just quickly summarize the differences between the 25 and the 24 car?
After releasing the first GR Corolla, master driver Morizo and development driver Mr. Ishiura requested us to improve the performance of the high-speed cornering, specifically the Fuji Speedway's 100R corners. So our challenging point is the rear side, then inside, tires, grip level. So at first, we implemented the rebound spring to control the kind of rebound stroke transition. But putting the rebound spring smoothly changing the grip level in the rear inside wheel. So center of gravity is a little bit lower than previous one. So that makes entering corners, vehicle stability was improved.
The rear spring is now a 2-stage progressive spring. So it's a little bit stiffer also. And you change the rear anti-sway bar a bit too. So what's the purpose of these changes?
To have a good grip level for every tire, especially inside the rear wheel. So we want to move the more flexible. We soften the sway bar ratio, but we want to keep the roll stiffness. So that's why soften and sway bars ratio, but increasing the coil spring ratio to be the same roll stiffness.
So it's a little stiffer in the back, a little more rotation. Okay. The third piece is the trailing arm. You moved the mounting point up by 30 millimeters. What was the idea behind that?
The reason we changed the trailing arm connecting point is to increase the anti-squat ratio. When you are exiting the corner, we want to keep the vehicle postures less pitch so that we can get a good grip on the front wheel and the response from the axle pedal.
Less weight transfer to the rear, you're going to reduce understeer, especially on corner exit.
So especially combined with the new track mode, more torque distribution to the rear, we need to increase the anti-squat ratio after exiting the corner.
Oh, let me ask you about the engine. So we now have 22 pound-feet more of torque. Are there any mechanical changes to the engine?
So basically no mechanical change, just to increase the turbo pressures. But as you know, we put a sub-radiator for extra cooling for the increasing the torque.
Oh, also the automatic transmission, you now have a dedicated cooler for that too. So you've got 2 coolers, is that right, for the automatic transmission?
Yeah, originally the heat exchanger between the engine water and the transmission oil we have in front of the transmission. Then in addition to that, we put some air cooling radiator for the D80 oil.
So I got one more question that everybody wants to know. I have to ask you this. So some people are saying that they are getting the center transfer case overheating on track. So are there any plans to address this, or what's the position?
We understand that point. So we implemented some air duct under the engine cover for more cooling for the transfer case. But we understand customer needs is kind of increasing. So still we are working on to improve that.
Car is a lot of fun to drive. I'm having a great time driving it here. I'm going to try out all these new technologies on track. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Time to head to the track in the GR Corolla 8-speed automatic. It does have paddle shifters, but I'm going to put it in track mode, and we're going to see how that 60-40 split works, and I'm going to give you my impressions. Automatic mode. I'm a pretty die-hard save the manuals guy, but listen to those shifts. Really so quick. They're so quick. And you know what else I like about this car? Because it's an automatic, I can really focus on my lines. I can focus on getting to the next corner quickly without having to really worry about too much about heel and towing, getting all the shift points right, all that kind of stuff is just taken care of for me. Listen to this. Listen to that. That'd be hard for me to downshift that quickly and that effectively and that accurately. Those upshifts, 300 milliseconds. Boom. Very quick. And this is a pretty quick car. I'm on the banking here. I don't know what I'm doing. 110, 115, something like that. These brakes are solid. Listen to those downshifts again. That would be hard for me to get through that section as quickly with a manual transmission. I'm not saying that a manual transmission wouldn't be more fun, and maybe it would be, but this is just a little bit easier to drive, and I can really focus on what I'm doing, and it is in the right gear all the time. It's good. One of the things that they talked about was the reduction in understeer. So let's see if that's actually the case or not. It does rotate a little better than before. The car seems a little bit less pushy than it did on the first launch event where I was at. A little bit of push there on corner exit, but not too bad. Yeah, it does rotate a little bit. This time we're going to try manual mode, going to shift it myself. Oh, those paddles feel good, it's very responsive. Little pushy there. Yeah, this is a very responsive transmission. I really like it. It's doing a good job with the paddles. In fact, it's definitely better than the Supra, in my opinion, in terms of responsiveness. There's a little rotation. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. All right, let's see if I can not hit any cones here. Takes a second for it to wind up. So third was the wrong gear coming out of that corner. Right, here we come for the little braking zone. Yeah, it's more to think about when I'm shifting myself with this car. I think if you're a novice on track, or even if you're a good driver, it allows you to focus on the things that matter a little bit more. Now, if you're not lazy and you want to row your own, we're going to take a lap in the manual. Let's see if it's any more engaging to drive. Manual does feel pretty good, but there's a little bit more to think about with the manual. Like, for example, it's a busy corner. I probably should have been in a different gear. The automatic is going to help you be a little bit less busy in corners. So if you're sort of a novice to performance driving, the automatic is going to be easier. And I think you're probably going to put down some quicker lap times, in my opinion, too. This is a fun, entertaining car. Is it my first choice for a track car? Probably not, but I like the fact that you can take this out and track, do multiple laps, take this shopping for groceries, sort of do everything with this car, and even have it in the winter. And if you're looking for a car that sort of does everything competently, I think this is a pretty good car for that. It does a pretty good job with that. Pricing for the Core starts at around $39,000 with the manual transmission and roughly $41,000 for the automatic. And all the way at the top end is the Premium Plus automatic at around $47,000. I very much want to thank Toyota for having me and other journalists out to Charlotte Motor Speedway to drive the new GR Corolla automatic, and also a huge thanks to Sakamoto-san for the interview. So here are my thoughts on the GR Corolla automatic. It is an excellent automatic. It's an 8-speed, and if you're looking for something that is a little bit easier to drive around town, it is very, very good in traffic. It is very smooth shifting, and it is just a well-programmed automatic. Now let's talk about performance driving. Driving it on track, I thought it was very, very impressive. It was always in the right gear at the right time, and it did the downshifts very quickly and the upshifts very quickly as well. I never really felt the need to put it into paddles because it was always just doing exactly what I wanted. Yes, you can absolutely paddle shift it. Might be a little bit more fun, but it's very, very good. Now, the suspension changes are actually quite noticeable in my opinion, and its biggest flaw previously on track driving was a lot of understeer. Yes, it is still kind of pushy mid-corner, but on corner entry, it's a lot easier to get it to rotate, especially with the new 30mm raised trailing arm. It actually does make a difference. Now, the shocks with the rebound springs are probably a bit of an improvement, but honestly, this car has way too much rebound for just driving around on the street. It is absolute bouncy house. Not quite sure why they developed it that way, but I think a lot of people are going to put in some aftermarket suspension anyhow. Now, some good news. Toyota told me that they are planning to increase the production of the GR Corolla a little bit to meet some of the demand. And they're going to produce roughly 20 to 30% automatics is what they're thinking, and the rest is going to be manual. There's another great video right over here. Thanks for watching.